Hello there. I'm actually quite a sensitive person, very sensitive I am. And so I thought I would try and show you how sensitive I am by writing a song. I've written a song for you, right? And I've got my guitar here. I've just written it just this moment. And, well, I say I've written it. I've never actually performed it, but I've written some chords down, right? Hang on. Oh. Don't worry. That was Mumford & Sons calling me up. They heard that I'm writing some songs and they want me to maybe pass a few over to them, which I might do. They can have this one if they want. If you're Mumford & Sons, if you're watching this, you can have this one. I haven't written it yet, but I have put some words down and some chords down, which I believe is songwriting. That's composition, isn't it? Anyway, shall we start? The first chord's A minor. This song is called Don't Trust a Singer-Songwriter. It might be ironic, because it's clever like that. I'm a very sensitive person, you see. And I use irony as a very clever tool in my songwriting arsenal. I might be talking out of my arsenal right now. Just waiting for the... I'm waiting for the sort of brilliance to inspiration to come. Here we go. I thought my ideas were very important. I should put them in a song. I didn't care if the melody sucked a beat, or if the sentiment was wrong. It's best to never trust a singer-songwriter. Writing a song's easier than you think. And never trust a singer-songwriter. They just play 3 chords and their opinions sting. Didn't mean to play that E then, sorry. Probably just have a deeper meaning in the song, creating some sort of harmonic tension between the first verse and the second verse. So bear that in mind. Yeah, I think I'll go with that actually. I got some chords and wrote down some words. I made up something easy to sing. I know my singing's been bad and the tune is a bit boring. It's boring and it really makes you think that this might just be easier than you think. So you must never trust a songwriter. Oh, never trust a song. This has gone wrong, hasn't it? See, maybe it's harder than I thought. I didn't get back out of here. Right, I'll tell you why, because here I couldn't be arsed writing that second verse. I'll put, just make something up there. You know, I could edit it together, couldn't I? Let's try and just do this last chorus to show I did actually write something for this, just to make something up on the spot. Never trust a singer-songwriter. Writing songs is easier than you think. Never trust a singer-songwriter. They play 3 chords and their opinions sting. Everybody! Never trust a singer-songwriter. and their opinions sting. That chord at the end, should I? This wasn't right. It didn't work, did it? I thought I'd hit on the minor and just try and change it up a little. Right, so on this video, I'll move up a little bit closer to you now. Right, I'll be there in a minute. I'm coming. There we go. Right, where's me water? Singer-songwriters, they get on my nerves. I don't trust them. Do you trust them? No, I don't trust them. You know why? Well, you don't know why. Well, you might know why. You might have your own opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion now. Bob Dylan. I say that he's the genius of contemporary pop music. His main genius thing was to be the singer-songwriter. Not playing folk songs that somebody else had written, but playing his own songs where he told you how he felt about it. And this caught on. Now, why did it catch on? Because it was so bloody easy, wasn't it? Anybody that wanted to get the women could buy themselves an acoustic guitar, and after about a week, they've got 3 or 4 chords nailed, and then they could look very, you know, empathetic and what's the word? You know, when you're in touch with your emotions. They could look like that, couldn't they? Like I just did then. And I'm sure any ladies that are watching, which will be virtually zero, but the ones that are watching are probably looking at me in a different light after seeing me singing that song. I'm sure they are. And so Dylan, who was not the best looking bloke that going, he was small and he got fuzzy hair and he got an ugly little face, you know, suddenly got all the women after him. And he got this sort of cultural currency, hasn't he, by singing The Answer My Friend Is Blowing in the Wind, you know. A line that, if I'd have written it, just would make people think of farts, wouldn't it? But when he said it, everyone thought it had some great political meaning. And maybe it did at the time. Maybe the culture was such that people did want to have some sort of touchy-feely, you know, bloke up front, you know, telling them how they felt about the world. Maybe they needed that at that time.
It's like when I think of dying. You know how I'd like to die?
No, how?
I'd like to get torn apart by wild animals.
Heavy, eaten by some squirrel.
But the thing is, it got so important that this idea then emerged that if you weren't singing your songs, if you were singing somebody else's song, that somehow was less artistically worthy. If you didn't write your own songs, that wasn't very good. That's what the singer-songwriters of the 1960s brought in as an idea, didn't they? Think about it. How many of us think like that now? 60 years later. 60 years later, when we're all thinking like that, if somebody else writes a song for a singer, then that's not quite as good.
I ain't gonna judge no nigga. I ain't gonna say if it's not art. If a nigga, you know, don't write his shit. But, you know, I would like, me personally as an artist, I would like to write my own shit.
Shit indeed. Pop bands do that. All these modern pop songs, they don't even write their own songs. I mean, listen to it, nobody's written that song. If they just sat down with an acoustic guitar, if you can make it work on acoustic guitar, then it's a good song. That's how you know it's a good song, isn't it? No, this is all nonsense. This is all the dogma that we've received because of bloody singer-songwriters, ugly little blokes like Bob Dylan and Van Morrison that can make themselves more attractive because it made themselves think they were so emotional. Now, there are good songwriters out there, loads of them. Right, and I might talk about what I think good songwriting is now, but what actually happened, if you look back at that period of time, all the good songwriters were women because they didn't get that sort of currency. Nobody thought that they were more attractive by doing that. In fact, they usually looked less attractive once they started to get up and sing songs. You know, we thought they were very emotional, you know, but it's not like, that's not what makes a woman attractive, is it? You know, if you've got a choice between Joan Baez and, I don't know, Shaka Khan, I know who I'd be choosing. I was just imagining that then. The scenario. I'm in a bar. I go up to the bar. Before I know it, I got 2 women on me. Joan and Shaka. Get off me, I say. Get off, get away from me, you rock harridans. I'm not interested. And then I think, well, maybe I might be interested. I might be interested. And there they are, go, oh, choose me. You know, Shaka Khan's there. She's saying choose me, but she's doing it in such a high register. She's right up there, you know. Once you get started, come on, Andy. She's right up there going, bloody hell, that's high. That's hurting my ears. And then Jones, she's after me, but with this bloody piercing vibrato. You know, which is somewhere between a bandsaw and bloody Charles Aznavour. Or Charles has no voice, as we say here in England. Right, so I'm on to the next bit now. Forget me trying to chat up those two. I'm not even chatting them up. They're trying to chat me. Why? Because their songwriting did not make them more attractive in my mind. It only works one way. It only works with the men. Only the men get this kudos. You think about it, it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, Kate Bush, she's an attractive lady, but she had to bound around in a very tight leotard, you know.
People got my latest hits, cause they like my latex tits. And they were trying hard to get inside my leotard.
And I think a woman do that anyway makes them more attractive. I tell you now, this songwriting thing, don't trust them. It's just a bunch of blokes looking sensitive, singing songs with 3 chords in the 1960s was the equivalent of inviting somebody to look at your etchings in the 1950s, right? Etchings are easy. I did a degree in art. Anyone can do an etching. They think it's hard. It's not hard at all. It's a bit of scratching on a bit of metal. That's all it is. You got your etching there. And then the ink's all splodging all over the place. Nobody knows what it all means. Etchings, they are basically the artistic equivalent of 3-chord bloody appropriations of old folk songs that you put your own lyrics to, where you put your sort of lefty liberal ideas in there and look all touchy-feely, which has now ended up in the modern world with these rappers getting up, being all political. I don't care what you think. Rap's gone the same way. Rap used to be funny.
We're called Whistle, and this is true. We love to do the things that we're not supposed to do. We don't need robbing, stealing, or mugging. In fact, don't take it seriously. We're only bugging.
There's no nigga, I ain't gonna say if it's not art. If a nigga, you know, don't write his shit.
It's hot today. I'm trying to keep myself lubricated. Got to keep yourself lubricated, especially when you're making a video like this. Which is a bit. You see that there? Do you see what happened there? That was my tongue in my cheek. Did you notice that there? I'm even explaining some of the esoteric stuff in this video now. Do I have to? Yeah, you do. You know what they're like, Andy. They won't get it. Won't know how to take this, will they?
Rather, all authors have intention in creating their work. Death of the author exists only in the sense of they lose control of interpretation after it is made. But during its making, it is within their total control. For example, there's a famous Flannery O'Connor saying where she was asked about the meaning behind a red door, and she said the door is just red.
Me screwball now.
Some people will be laughing, other people won't be. How dare you criticise Shaka Khan? How dare you criticise Joan Baez? How dare you criticise Van Morrison? How dare you criticise Bob Dylan? I'm criticising them all today. I've got my guitar here as well. I tell you, this is going to be the video that finally pulls the big bloody wall away from the rock audience's eyes to thinking that because you've written a song, it's somehow better than if you haven't written a song. So what happened before Bob Dylan happened? What happened? We had people like Leadbelly. He was a good singer and he could play the guitar, right? And these guys could accompany themselves. They didn't just strum. I can't do what they do, right? You know all these sort of rock and let it rap a line, rock and let it rock and band and make a bigger boom. You got all that. They got rhythm, guitar, but you got great vocals. I can't do that. But I can go. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Sorry about that, everybody. Just couldn't help it. Right, the point is, right, Leadbelly was singing someone else's songs. It's Woody Guthrie's fault, to be honest. Right? Because he took the American folk form and he put a political sort of left-winger thing on it. He was the one to do it. You know, my land is your land is my land. I don't think so, mate. It's not true, is it? He can sing that as much as he like. If I ever get up in the morning, I go outside to have a stretch of my legs, you know, go out into the garden, have a look to see how the old daffodils are getting on. You know, have a walk round. Oh, God, the dog's been out there pooing. What the hell's this next to the dog poo? It's Woody Guthrie. What you doing here, Woody? I'm here. Why are you here? Get off. This is my land. No, mate. My land is your land, and your land is our land, and our land is his land, and his land is Aslan from the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
It is I.
You're real! You're real!
This is a strange one today, isn't it? It's because I'm too bloody hot.
Every little master, every little miss, there behind the greenhouse, having a lovely yoo-hoo, nanny.
I made myself laugh now. Yeah, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, they're all out there. Aslan's there. That little fella with the old goat legs at the top half. What's he called? Mr. Tumble. What's him? Tumnus. Mr. Tumnus. Aslan. Woody Guthrie. Joe Baez. Shaka Khan. They're all there in my world, causing me trouble. Why am I cursed by all these types? Woody, listen, mate. This is my land, right? I got a mortgage. I pay every month. I don't want to come out here and have some sort of bloke sat in a sort of one of them caps that you will drive a train with telling me on about whose land it is. This is my land. Bugger off. Take your mate Pete with you. That's Pete Seeger. He's the other one who goes off. Right. I have a lot of time for this. This is the history of American music. We got no problem with that. I got no problem with Bob Dylan, really. But what happened before that? I'll tell you what happened before that. Jazz. Now, jazz is hard. It's hard to play jazz. Any type of jazz is hard to play, right? The songs that jazz musicians play are harder to play. Right? They're just harder to play. The chords are harder. There's more chords and the chords are weirder. Right? Everyone knows this. So what did they have in the old days before rock and roll? I'll tell you what they had. You had a singer, and that singer got famous because not only could they sing, but they also had a ton of charisma. So you liked watching them. So you look at them and go, well, they're cool, aren't they? That's a cool person. Look at that bloke, whether he's Howlin' Wolf or Ella Fitzgerald or Frank Sinatra or Lena Horne or any of them. They're all cool, right? They know how to deliver the song. They sing the song. Right, but where are you going to get this song from? Well, what you do is you go to someone who can write proper songs, and they actually compose songs. They sit there and compose songs with parts, and these songs are clever, right? So the Gershwins and the Cole Porters and the Irving Berlins and the Rodgers and Hart and all these people are writing all these incredible songs, and some of these songs are very simple and accessible, but other songs they're darker, aren't they? They're darker. They have chords like that in. Summertime. And the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the curtain is high. Your dad is rich. Your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby. That's jazz. The chords are bloody harder, the melody's harder, it's dark, it's evocative, and even in my terrible vocal, it starts to evoke something, right? So you get a song that's that good. You give it to bloody Ella Fitzgerald to sing. You go down, you get an orchestra of virtuoso musicians, and you get an arranger who has the mind of like bloody Beethoven or someone to take that song and break that across. So there's all these arrangements coming on, and then you take them into a recording studio where there's people who know how to record stuff accurately, and they get up, and it's not overdubbed. They just get the sound right in the room. The mics are up, and all this comes together in something which is absolutely sublime. It's sublime. It all costs money. It takes a lot of coordination. You have to have record companies, you have to have arrangers, fixers who get the musicians, then you go publishing companies, all sorts of things for this to work. But what it does is it creates great music. And this is what the music industry was up until the 1960s. The film industry was exactly the same. And the film industry and the song industry sort of held hands. They had a way of promoting songs, which was through the Hollywood musicals. Before that, it had been the theatre. A lot of songs were linked to stories. You know, you would go watch a musical, it would tell a story, there would be characters. So the songwriter wasn't necessarily writing from their own point of view, but they were taking, like a great actor, their view of the world, but they were utilising it in all these different contexts. So when George Gershwin and his brother Ira Gershwin writes that tune, they are exploring the whole essence of race. And they are taking you back to this time, which at the time in the 1920s and 30s was seen as an idyll down south. Right? It was seen as an idyll with these lovely sort of summery, slave houses with the slaves all out there singing their spiritual songs. But within that, he starts to take that and create a storyline which explores that as much as possibly could be explored at that time. And within that storyline, there is something with that song which has turned it into, which is why I decided to play it, one of the 2 or 3 most important songs of the 20th century, where the meaning of it has gone off into such a wide cultural thing that the song has a meaning for absolutely everybody. Now, when we get to the 1960s and the Beatles emerge, the Beatles are interesting because they take the sort of rhythm and blues of rock and roll. Remember, that's the same way. A lot of those rhythm and blues bands, Elvis wasn't singing his own songs. He was singing old rhythm and blues songs or singing songs by Lieber and Stoller. It was exactly the same mechanism. That goes all the way up. But in the 1950s, towards the end, we suddenly get people like Buddy Holly, Eddie Cochran emerging. And they're writing their own songs. And then that transfers across to the Beatles. And suddenly the Beatles are doing it all themselves. Now, it has to be said that that was such a novel way of doing things that it took over the whole world. Now, if you buy the early Beatles albums, you'll see that half of them are not songs they wrote. They were still playing cover versions because that is what you did. You formed a band and that band would play cover versions, and that went all the way through. The division that we have now in where you've got people forming bands and trying to write songs and get a deal, which doesn't exist anymore. But that idea didn't exist before. You were in a covers band or an originals band. Every band was a covers and originals band, and you went to see the band play. If we go back to the 1960s, and in this town where I was, this was a very important town in terms of that history. There was loads of bands playing in this area at that time. Led Zeppelin were playing around here. Captain Beefheart played in my town. Fleetwood Mac played in my town. Jimmy Cliff played in this town. A whole bunch of bands were coming in and out. But if you've actually gone to those gigs, in most cases, they would have been doing a lot of cover versions and just basically supplying the night's entertainment with some originals and some covers. And those bands who had a sound, right, the bands that had a sound would then get a deal. And then the companies that could see that they could make money would go, well, look, these guys like the Beatles, and now we've got this bloke Bob Dylan, they're writing the songs. Can you write the songs? And that process actually threw up some incredible songwriters. Back in the mid-60s, one of the bands that was from this area was a band called The Move. Now, The Move featured the great Bev Bevan on drums, who went on to form ELO with Jeff Lynne. and Bev is someone I know. I've played with him many a time, hundreds of times in fact. And he had a band called The Move, and on The Move he had a singer guitarist called Roy Wood. He was only 17 or 18 at the time. They were basically playing around the UK doing cover versions, right? Every band did. When they got signed, you know, the record company said to them, you know, you're going to have to write a song. And Roy Wood went home and wrote some songs. That was the first time he'd ever wrote songs. He wrote songs that went to #1, brilliant songs like Blackberry Way or Fire Brigade, or, you know, all these incredible songs. Now, The Move never made it in the America, so you might not know them, but then a lot of the stuff that they pioneered then went into ELO, and of course ELO became one of the biggest bands in the world. And if you could see right behind me there, we have Kelly Grocut's chair, which is, I believe, is on the back of, which album is that? Oh no, I can't remember. Anyway, it's one of the ELO chairs, and over in the corner here we've got the ELO Kelly Grocut bass. I live in that area. Now, I'm not knocking that type of songwriting. Band songwriting I have a lot of time for, right? Because what usually happened is a band member would come in, they would string some sort of ideas together, but then they would bring it into the band, and bands would then sit and start to do what bands do, which is arrange and organize, bring riffs in, bring sounds in, bring grooves in. And the way that they ornamented the song, which was the equivalent of what the arrangers did in the old days, have created what rock music is. So when we think of Stairway to Heaven, you know, we think of this here. That part there is Jimmy Page, and he's working with Robert Plant, and that's a signature part, right? If the guitarist of the band came up with, you know, something like that, which is not easy to play, and I haven't prepared any of this, so please bear that in mind. So when you know, Andy Summers is playing in that, becomes part of the song. These parts are so important. Songs are not someone singing over 3 chords, right? That does exist. But the thing that I find wonderful about rock music is that the song is more than just the chords and the vocal. Now, I did a serious video last week after going to see Sting, who is, of course, one of the great songwriters of the last 50 years, who's written a whole raft of songs, many of which have gone in straight into mainstream culture, and we live with them every single day of our lives, and people get married to them and they get buried to them. This is something that's quite incredible. And I realised that with the Police songs, when you saw Sting get and play them, and he had Dominic Minner on guitar and he had Chris Moss on drums, but that trio had to play the parts that the band had created. When Sting left the Police, he then had carte blanche, and he then, when he goes to his own songs, has a lot more leeway in terms of how he plays them now, because he's changing them. It's interesting, this, because it starts to make me think, well, what is a song? And I've been thinking a lot about this over the last week after seeing it. It was quite a profound thought, to be honest. This was that the song is important because of its cultural importance. That's the point. These songs have a culture, but Dylan's songs had a cultural importance. That's all great. The thing I wanted to get across on this is actually the best way of creating great music is not with people doing the stuff themselves. That's highly likely going to make it worse. And I think we are bogged down at the moment between very, very simplistic, cheesy, popular music that's made by machines on computers, and then underneath that, a whole bunch of very, very boring songwriting, which has morphed over to this sort of rap and songwriting where people are expressing something about their soul or about politics. And this idea stinks, and it needs to be pulled down. We need to move past this. This is old. Bob Dylan's idea of sitting there and singing like a Rolling Stone, and us all going, oh my God, it's just so apt. He's just captured our age. That age had to be captured like that, but this age will never be captured by that. And it will seem like a parody of it. It will seem like the elites, the music business, that's what I mean by the elites in this context, the music business and their attendants that surround the music business are sat there championing people because they are ticking the boxes of what seems virtuous aesthetically, where they're actually not delivering it. And I think that is a very, very important thing to understand. I hope you enjoyed this little video where I expressed my distrust of the songwriter. It did have a serious message underneath it, but I also thought I would bring a little bit of comedy in, which I did, and it's done now. So, once again, everybody, never trust a songwriter. It's easier than you think. Never trust a songwriter. I forgot what the lyrics are. They play 3 chords and their opinions stink. They stink. They stink. They stink. Can you smell the stink? The stink. The stink. Because the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Like, subscribe, become a Patreon, become a member, do all the things that I want you to do when you get to the end of the video. Go away and do them right now. Thanks for watching this video. See you on the next one. Bye-bye to you all.
Every little master, every little miss, there behind the greenhouse, having a lovely yoo-hoo, nanny. Titties.
Oh, look! Pinky and Perky.